This is Ken Hance, best storyteller in Texas. I hope you enjoy this podcast. It's with Governor Rick Perry. It's part 3. I think you'll really enjoy it. You served as Ag Commissioner, then you ran for Lieutenant Governor in '98.
Yeah, that was a short tenure. Everybody knew George W. Bush was going to run for president in 2000, so whoever was elected Lieutenant Governor, of course, a lot of people who live in Texas today don't realize that those are independent offices. You know, you don't run as a ticket. This isn't the governor picking his lieutenant governor and then run as a ticket. It is very much a standalone statewide office. And so obviously George Bush was going to run, and I think he was running against Gary Morrow, and he easily won re-election. Most people who were paying attention realized that Bush had a pretty good shot of being elected president in 2000, and whoever we elected lieutenant governor in '98 would be the governor. So it put an extra bit of focus on that race. And again, you know, my erstwhile friend from college days was running against me, and
y'all been buddies in college.
Oh, yeah.
You work together,
listen,
and all of a sudden you're opponents.
Yeah, and in a pretty rough and tumble race, I will tell you. And we got a divorce there for a couple of years after that. We got mad at each other because of that political race. But the good news is the good Lord kind of worked on us and told us that life's too short to be mad at somebody forever. So
y'all have you've had some ups and downs with Sharp, but you've had a lot more ups than downs.
What I tell people, and John and I laugh about this, we've been married and divorced more times than Bob Bullock. But we're married right now, and happily married, I might add. Yeah, we're working together. He's over at A&M doing a great job. And
then you were lieutenant governor for a short period of time.
For 2 years.
In legislation, lieutenant governor is the most powerful guy in the state.
If you know how to use the office, it can be a highly influential position. When that legislature's in there, you decide who's going to be the committee chairs, you decide who's going to be the committees, you decide what bills are going to be heard on any given day. Now, you got to know how to manage 30 pretty interesting people who have their own agendas and their own egos and what have you. I mean, lieutenant governor is a very, very difficult job, and I was fortunate to have some great people to work with, both sides of the aisle. I think about John Whitmire, and he was a great help. Chuy Hinojosa, Rodney. Rodney Ellis. I mean, just really some good guys that I got to work with, and on the Republican side, man, there's just some great men and women that I was. Jane Nelson, who's just now retired. Jane was just rock solid. Shapiro. Just some really great Republican women that were senators at that particular point in time. And but I only stayed one term, or not one term, one session. And
I was with you on election night in 2000.
Up and down, back and forth.
We were together in the east side of the Capitol, and we didn't know what was happening. I mean, Bush had it won, he had it lost. He had won, he had it lost. And then we finally went home and went to sleep.
And then we, Mom and Dad were in there with us, right. Ken, as you'll recall. And we went home, and then, for 6 weeks we didn't know.
Yeah.
And it went until, I want to say, the middle of December until they finally did the last hanging Chad in Florida, and the court ruled that George Bush was going to be the next president of the United States. And we very quickly did a small ceremony over in the Senate, and December the 20th of 2000, I was sworn in as the 47th governor of the great state of Texas.
Right. Then you served until January of 2015.
Yeah.
and you're the longest serving governor.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story when you think about it. From 1845 until 2000,
Right.
what was that, 165 years?
Right.
The average term for a Texas governor was 3 years and 9 months. Now, the reason is less than 4 years is because prior to 1973, we had 2-year terms. There were some governors that came in here and only served 2 years. So Texas historically didn't reelect governors. You back up, man. You think about it in modern history, all the way back from 1950. That was the longest serving. He was a lieutenant governor.
Alan Shivers.
Governor Shivers. He was lieutenant governor, and the governor died. Jester. He was coming back from Buford Jester was coming back from Houston on a train and had a heart attack and died. And so Governor Shivers went from lieutenant governor to governor, and he served from 1950 until 1957. So and those were 2-year terms. So he was right at 7 years. That was the longest serving governor, continuously serving governor. Okay, there's a little asterisk in there. Bill Clements was governor for 8 years, 2 4-year terms, but he had a hiatus of 4 years when Mark White beat him. So from an influence, continuity is really important in the influence of a state from a governor's standpoint. So until 2000, when I took over, the average person less than 4 years, and so we took that 2-year term, and then we're fortunate to be elected in 2002 for a full 4-year term, then reelected in 2006 and in 2010. So a total of 14 plus years.
We had great success, economic development, higher education, and congratulations on that. Then you ran for president, and it didn't work out, but you became Secretary of Energy.
Yeah.
And that Trump didn't appoint a lot of people that ran against him. You were
President Trump likes loyalty.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think he prizes it about as much as anything is loyalty. I was very loyal. I hope, and he reminded me on a regular basis. He said, "Perry, you said some pretty nasty stuff about me." And I said, "Well, Mr. President, I can say that I gave as good as I took."
Yeah, that's good.
I said it wasn't like you were, sweet.
He wasn't a
You wasn't
wallflower.
sweet talking me either.
Yeah.
So we had a good go of it. But I came on board after I stepped out, recognized he was going to be our nominee, and I went full on to help him. And glad I did. I have no regrets about it. I think the policies he put into place made America stronger, better place, better life for people. And would I ask him to maybe be a little more Reagan-esque when it came to dealing with other folks and what have you? Yeah, but I tell people, I said, listen, if your feelings are more important than our country, you got your priorities wrong. And that's what happened, I think. Some people, a lot of people, some, the Lincoln Project, these kind of folks who, I don't know them that well, but they profess to be Republicans, and they went all in to beat Donald Trump. And in hindsight now, I think they made a massive mistake. The idea that their feelings and having their feelings hurt is more important than my country and my country's future is really offensive to me.
It's out of bounds. You had as Secretary of Energy. That is a huge job. It's a massive job. And what was the budget? That the annual budget was about how much?
I think about $30 billion. In the grand scheme of things, in the federal government, that's not the biggest
amount.
Agency, and compared to the DOD or even the Department of the other DOE, the Department of Education, they got bigger budgets. I tell people often the best job I ever had was being governor. I always will be, no matter what. I think I'm getting kind of to the end of my public service career, but no matter what, governor is the greatest job, most enjoyable job, but the most interesting job I ever had was being Secretary of Energy. And it goes back to what all that place encompasses. All the nuclear weapons in the country, you have the oversight of. The national labs, 17 national labs, and a number of them specialize in those, Sandia, Los Alamos, Oak Ridge National Lab, Livermore, Argonne. All of them have something to do with the nuclear weapon side of the world. Some of them, cases like Los Alamos, it's where we actually build the weapons. Pantex belongs to DOE up at Amarillo. There's more nuclear material right there at Pantex than there is in any other place in the United States. Most people have no idea. It's right out there off the end of the runway at Amarillo Airport. And it just the most fascinating work that goes on. Those national labs are involved. Every supercomputer that the United States operates belongs to the Department of Energy, the fastest supercomputers in the world. You've got work that's being done at the Pacific Northwest Lab on just every type of high-tech area that you can imagine. And then to me, the most fascinating place that we operate is right outside of Las Vegas, 75 miles, called the National Nuclear Security Site. That's where Area 51 resides. It's where Yucca Mountain, where we're supposed to be the repository for all the nuclear waste that we have in this country. There is every kind of fascinating technology going on that piece of property. Some you can talk about, some you can't. So a lot of classified work going on out there. So the Department of Energy is the most interesting job. And here's the last thing I want to say about it. It's also the best place you could work. And the reason I say that is because 40% of the men and women who work there are veterans. There's every kind of politics I'm sure there's from as far left to as far right there. But there's such a large population of veterans. And veterans get it about accomplishing the mission. They salute the flag and they go to work. I never worried about is somebody trying to, stick a knife in my back politically. And some of those agencies of government, you think about what happened to Scott Pruitt, Ryan Zinke over at the Department of Interior. I know for a fact Betsy DeVos, who's a fabulous gal, just a great lady that I got to work with, Secretary of Education. They were trying to, deep six her
from the word go
every day that she went to work. And the deep state's real. It does not want you coming in and telling them how to do their business. But at the Department of Energy, particularly because of the national labs, and I respected the national labs. I didn't get in there and try to go, okay, you guys need to do this and this and this. I helped them get 45% more funding because I knew that we needed it to stay in the game against China in particular and against Russia when it comes to our supercomputing capacity, our artificial intelligence ability, keeping our nuclear weapons program as modern as we can. All of that really mattered, and they knew I supported them. And I think I was smart enough to understand, look, these are the experts. They don't have a political agenda, by and large. What they've got is a United States national security agenda. And I think we made great progress. And when you couple that with what we did on energy independence, I'll tell you a quick story. When I went in, President-elect Trump asked me to come in and talk to him about being his Secretary of Energy. And it was a pretty short conversation. He said, look, Perry, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go do for the United States what you did for Texas. I said, yes, sir, I got it. That meant go sell what America has to sell, particularly in the energy arena. And before we left office, we had become net exporter of energy. First time it happened in 70 years.
We're energy independent?
We were energy independent. We didn't have to wonder whether or not some OPEC country wanted to hold us hostage, or Russia or what have you. We had stopped the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We had freed Europe from Russian
control of their energy.
Yes, sir.
They had control of it.
And we were making incredible progress in Europe, getting, the Poles are our great friends. Poland, fabulous friends. They totally got it. Our LNG going in there and then flowing on into Europe. And all of that's been turned around in 11 months. And I don't think that's in anybody's best interest, with the exception of maybe Russia and China. But the point is, that agency was able to do a lot of really good things, and I think put America in a substantially better position from a national security standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and from the standpoint of leading the world again in scientific and technological advances.
Well, you did a fabulous job in that. Let me ask you one last question here, and let's talk just about cabinet meetings. How often, you had call meetings, but usually how often would you meet?
I'm going to say every other month we'd have a cabinet meeting. But here's an interesting thing. I met with my cabinet members substantially more often in a cabinet member Bible study. We met every Wednesday morning over in Sonny Perdue's office. Sonny was the Secretary of Agriculture, just a former governor of Georgia, and just a great Christian man. And so I'd see Ben Carson and Betsy DeVos and Russ Voigt and Sonny and Alex Acosta and Scalia, his son, Labor Secretary, came to those. So I saw my cabinet members a lot more
in a different setting.
In a different setting, and it really helped. Cabinet meetings were interesting, but they were, pretty much bang, 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 bang. And
what would you have, 5 minutes to give a summary, unless you had something?
If you were even on the agenda, a lot of times, you were sitting there listening to what was going on somebody else's plate, because that was the important thing to the president at that particular point in time. The Department of Energy would have a presentation from time to time, depending on what's going on. We had a lot of interaction with our European and with India. We had a lot of interaction with India. Modi, Prime Minister Modi, and Trump got along very, very well together. And when you think about the China, India, two most populated countries in the world, they're over there in the same Eastern Hemisphere. They're where one of those is going to be our friend, and one of them's not. And it's pretty easy for me to pick which one it is, and I think most people understand that. Is that India? It's a democracy. They're substantially more inclined to our philosophical way of thinking, and then you got China over here, who I don't get confused. China's never going to be our friend. China's always going to be our opponent, and part of it is just their philosophy. They've been stealing our intellectual property forever, for as long as I have memory, and their philosophy is, if you don't stop me, shame on you, you're weak. That's their philosophy. The Indian philosophy is more based on in a religious set of laws. They got Buddhism, Hinduism, Muslim, Christians. They're a pretty diverse country, but they are a democracy. They understand the democratic rule. So there's not any doubt, and they're going to be the largest population if you look at the population demographic trajectory that they're on. So, Kent, I've lived a blessed and a charmed life. A kid from Paint Creek, Texas, to be able to do the things that I have. I thank the good Lord every day for the privilege to be able to do it. I'm back in Texas, living a fairly bucolic life now in rural Fayette County, outside of Round Top, Texas, with my two best friends from Texas A&M. We all live on about 60 acres together, and one of the highlights of my life was getting to work with you. You represent everything good about a public servant, and I want to thank you for staying in the game.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Love you.